Welcome back. That's the SGX Nifty. Indicating we'll have a start somewhere around the 11,480 kind of zone, if that is right. We have SP Tulsian of sptulsian.com and Mehrbun Irani also joining us. Good morning, Mr. Tulsian. Let me first come to you and ask you about your thoughts on Maruti, how to approach that stock if the market reacts negatively to the news.
Anuj, I think market will definitely be acting negative to the news because of the production cut and the inventory pile-up which we have been seeing. And if the reports are to be believed that March production cut is seen to be of about 25%, 25% plus, that is seen to be quite alarming. That yes, because generally we have always taken March as the best month for the car sales. Maybe for availing the depreciation and all sort of things. And if this is a situation, then definitely the liquidation of the inventory at the dealers level, because they have not been replenishing the inventory at their end, which has been learned to be of about 40-45 days or maybe 50 days. So probably the concerns remains on the March month sales, and then probably the caution may continue for April as well.
Okay, that's looking a little dicey. Mr. Tulsian, how do you approach Mindtree now? I mean, there are simply too many moving parts.
That's right, Lata. It's difficult. I'm not commenting whether this should happen or this should not happen, because I don't think that you have any kind of complaint about the present performance under the present promoters also. But if you have the with such a thin promoter stake, and the other financial investors are willing to come out of the company, and if you see the investors like L&T coming in, I don't think that the minority shareholder should have any complaint, because basically I'm taking a call on the P expansion, because if the company which has a P multiple presently of about maybe 16 or maybe 15 or 16 on FY20 earnings, and if the company is acquired by the L&T, while the two twins of the L&Ts are enjoying, again they are also in the mid-cap IT companies only, and if they are enjoying the P multiple of 20 plus based on their FY20 earnings, then definitely that is seen positive for the minority shareholders. And it is just a matter of what you call the corporate control, which always all the strong houses, they all look for acquisitions and all sort of things, which is seen is what is happening. But now all the promoters have seen having united, and then taking a call. But I think that the move of the L&T seem to be quite strong, and they should be able to succeed in taking control of Mindtree.
Okay, the rupee is opened very strong as we expected, 68.9 at this point in time, and it could get even stronger. It's extremely positive news coming in, both in terms of flows and in terms of actual trade deficit falling. Mehrbun Irani is also with us.
I just want to mention a couple of stocks.
Sure.
Actually, in pre-opening, Grasim is down almost about 10%. As we know, Nigel was just telling us that the IT department has slapped a 5,800 crore tax demand notice. So Grasim is under pressure, and Jet Airways is down almost about 10% as well, on the back of the stalemate continuing with that Jet Etihad deal. On the upside, a couple of stocks, like Dish TV, etc., that are in the news are up almost about 3% or so. But Mehrbun Irani does join in to give us his view on the markets. Mehrbun, hi, good morning. The stars of this month have been private sector banks like IndusInd and ICICI Bank. Both stocks up about 15% for the month. What are you advising investors to do here?
I think my gut feeling is little guarded, slightly guarded, which I have to be. I think the next big leg of the bull market has already started. And whenever the market takes a turn or takes a U-turn with good market breadth, great momentum, sharp breakouts, I think financials always start outperforming. Now, coming to your private sector banks question, I think if you ask me, even if you ask me the large cap stocks today, my top 3 picks out of the top 5 picks would be financials, and they would include IndusInd Bank and HDFC Bank along with the State Bank of India. IndusInd Bank, if you look at the way it is, yes, the stock has made a great move after underperforming quite some time. We need to understand it's still one of the best managed private sector banks with Mr. Ramesh Sopti in place. Credit growth is good. There are no negative surprises as far as asset quality goes. The mistake which they made as far as IL&FS, yes, there will be provisions here and there which could happen for the next 1 to 3 quarters, but that the market understands right now, and it's available at a price to book value of 2.9 times against the last 5 years average of 3.2 times. So I still feel, even despite the recent rise, IndusInd Bank offers great scope for improvement. Coming to HDFC Bank, made a great move. It's a core holding stock. And I think despite the price, even if somebody continues to make an SIP, which I've been advising the viewers to do it for the last many years, go and buy HDFC Bank every month. I think even at the present price, I think people should continue to go on adding on to the stock.
Okay, the other stock of the morning is going to be DHFL. At least for starters, it's up 10%. Let's see where it goes. Melbourne, good morning. Your thoughts on a stock like DHFL, 145?
I think the complete aversion as far as DHFL goes. I think quite a few of these names. I have been believing for quite some time onwards that 25% of the markets had bottomed out. But I still had my doubts on the balance 75%. Quite a few stocks have made rapid moves, and people are just comparing the highs and the lows and going on, adding on to it. I think somewhere on the line and catching this momentum, mistakes could happen in DHFL. They definitely qualifies as one of those picks.
Okay, but I can tell you that the stars are absolutely shining for the Nifty Bank. The bond markets, I've never seen, this yield is like 7.48 on the old 10-year. We were almost reaching 7.77. Now the yields have quite clearly crashed. Well, crashed is a strong word, but steadily falling. That's simply because imports are going to get cheaper. So in every way, the bank Nifty is getting rewarded. One, because of the dollar strength, dollar weakness, and again, because of bond yields falling. It's always bank positive. Mr. Tulsian, what would be your pick in the banking space?
See, Lata, in fact, if, we are keeping a bit cautious view on 3 or 4 banking stocks, because if you see the 2,400 point rise in this month itself, in the 2 weeks of this Nifty series, I don't think that such a swift move is warranted, because HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, they are all ruling at its 52-week high. Maybe the 2 stocks, IndusInd Bank, still about 300 rupees away from 52-week high, and maybe Kotak Bank, which is about 100 rupees away from this one. But I'm not going by the 52-week phenomenon only, because my point is that yes, Bank Nifty seem to be in an overbought position also, and valuations, except for HDFC Bank, where the discount over ADR or maybe the appetite of the FIIs are seem to be quite high. I'm worried that I won't be surprised to see the swift profit booking coming in ICICI Bank and Axis Bank, because both are not seen on a comfortable level at the current level. I'm not keeping a negative view on the longer term, but maybe for the near term, for 1 week or 2 weeks, I'm keeping cautious view. So yes, you have the potential on the other side stocks, maybe in the bank Nifty constituents, maybe like IDFC First Bank, or maybe Federal Bank, or maybe Bank of Baroda, or maybe some other stocks, maybe like DCB Bank kind of stocks. So yes, keeping bit cautious view on these 2 or 3 corporate lending stocks, that is Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, but keeping positive view on the other stocks.
Okay, well, Mr. Tulsian, I also want to ask you about some of these other non-index stocks like Arvind that have seen big gains this month. So I'll give you some time to ponder over that. In the meantime, while the equity markets adjust themselves to a 0.5% gain, Manisha Gupta, our commodities editor, is here to give us a quick roundup of all that's happening in the commodity space. Hi, Manisha. Good morning.
Morning, Sonia. Thank you for that. Well, some profit taking in the crude oil prices after those very strong gains that we saw in the previous week, where we hit the crude oil prices at a 4-month highs. But there are concerns about the economic global slowdown. And while markets did start this year with expectation that we might see 1.3 million barrels per day of a demand growth, there are these concerns that if we continue to see weaker data from China, from US, remember the US production data and the factory orders has come in on the weaker side. Europe numbers have been weak as well. So if that trend continues, we might see the global crude growth decline below 1 million barrels per day as well. And that really has led to some decline in the markets. But apart from that, when you look at the OPEC and the allies cut that has been on the higher side, the aggressive sanctions from US on Iran and Venezuela will continue to support the prices. So while we are dollar off from last week highs, we still seem to be holding on the higher side of the range right now, with still 23% of gains for 2019 till time in case of crude oil prices. It is a strong day when it comes for the metal prices, with the US dollar index having declined 0.8% in the previous week, started this week on a weaker note as well. Gold prices are holding around 1,300. You have palladium, which has hit a record highs, and most of the metal prices on Shanghai as well have started 0.25% to 0.5% on the higher side.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Manisha. Meherboon, would you be looking at any of the mid-cap stocks, or are you going to stick with the frontliners, because the FI money is only favouring those kind of stocks?
No, I think quite a few frontline mid-cap stocks have made their moves, and I don't think the way the stocks have moved, if the quality is good, people should be very skeptical of it. Oh, it's already gone up, now it's too late to buy, because ultimately I believe that the direction has changed. So if somebody has bought a good quality stock at 180 rupees and somebody else bought at 120 rupees, came down to 100. Now it's already come to 120 and may go high. It will never reach 180 possibly, at least not for the next 1-2 years. So people need to understand, quite a few, most of them. Like according to me, I think when we were discussing auto right now, I feel the auto sector, most of the stocks could have had bottomed out. The pain is there. The best way to identify is if the March monthly numbers are not good, will they fall further? If they don't fall further, you know that the bottom is in place. I think Eicher Motors, according to me, has bottomed out. And possibly the same could apply even to a Maruti despite the negative news today. Okay. So somewhere one will have to learn to buy, because I think it's happening because of the liquidity problem and because of the B6 problem. Okay. Now, post this, I think the floodgates could open. Somewhere along the line, one has to buy into a Maruti or an Eicher Motors and such type of stocks.
Okay, you know, just a point here. The rally, in fact, started with the mid caps. This rally started with the mid caps. It's just that over the last few days, because of the ETF flows, the entire attention shifted to the large caps. And in between, we had this 15th March phenomenon as well, the advanced tax issue, which sort of sucked out the domestic liquidity a bit. So there was some profit taking in the mid caps, but if this fresh expansion has to continue, my sense is this time it would be broad based, so perhaps the mid caps would also start to catch up. But by the way, the pre-open has settled 47 points higher on the Nifty, 140 points higher on the Nifty Bank. So the Nifty Bank is actually going to start right at Friday's high. Friday's high was 29,520. We're going to start at 29,521. Nifty's high on Friday was 11,487. We're going to start about 14 points shy of that. 910 right now, so let's take the 910 calls as well. Sudarshan, what would be your index call at the open and the 910 stock call?
You asking me?
Yes, Sudarshan.
Okay. See, you need to buy the Nifty. I mean, if you still don't have it or have exited for some reason, you buy the Nifty and keep a stop at 10,400. So that's the stop that we are looking at. 910 Shriram Transport Finance is an opportunity. It's on the verge of a significant breakout. For the short-term trader, buy with a stop at 1245 and a target of 1290. But the targets are much more ambitious for an investor.
Okay, and Mitesh, what about you? What would the big call be at 910 this morning?
Yeah, I would choose a buy on ONGC with a stop at 153 for targets of 163.
Okay, Prakash, you have a 910 call?
Yes, NBCC looks good. I think it's climbing to levels closer to 70 zones, stop below 64.
Okay. Well, at the moment, we are standing with about a 0.5% gain in the Nifty Bank and almost that in the Nifty as well. Mid caps again 0.4. So it looks like it's going to fire on all cylinders with some 3:1 in terms of favoring advancing stocks. Mr. Tulsen, would you now venture into the auto ancillaries?
Lata, auto ancillaries seem to be quite interesting space. In fact, we have advised buying into the stocks maybe for the last couple of weeks, and they are continue to remain so. And I think that one has to be very selective because there are about 60 stocks available in the listed space. So maybe one has to pick and choose but yes, this is seen to be the sector which must be looked into.
I wanted to ask you, the Lakshmi Vilas QIP has been now fixed and the price is 72. You expect that stock also to react positively?
See, though we are not keeping direct buy call on the Lakshmi Vilas Bank because we have the priorities, the other smaller banks, because the kind of run-up which we have seen in the frontline private sector banking stocks, you need to look into the smaller private sector banks. But our stocks in that category, as I said, maybe Federal Bank, DCB Bank, IDFC First Bank, because the catch-up has to, now the gap having widened between the frontline private sector bank and the smaller private sector banks, this differential has to catch up. So we have our buying call more on the other stocks than Lakshmi Vilas Bank. But yes, if you have this QIP at 72 rupees against the market price of 65, is definitely giving some kind of comfort and margin of safety. So yes, even that can be looked into.
All right, Mr. Tulsen, thanks a lot for joining us. We'll talk to you in closing bell about some more stocks. Mehrpun, the sector of this month actually has been the oil marketing companies. HPCL is up 25% this month, BPCL 18%. IOC, where there's been some overhang of perhaps an OFS, that sort of underperformed, but even that's up 10%. Your thoughts on what's going on here?
I think this entire sector which you mentioned, I think despite oil going up, the stocks going up, I think there's a big mystery people feel. But if you go back and check up, I think all the oil marketing companies in terms of valuations were dirt cheap. It is in fact that people realized and yet the stocks were not moving. Now suddenly when this momentum has come, I think quite a few people are chasing it. But at the present level, honestly, I think I would not like to advise any fresh buying in these three stocks. But if you ask me to prefer or put my ranking over here, I would put BPCL ahead of HPCL and IOC.
Okay, well, 2 more minutes to go. Mr. Tulsian, wanted your quick comments on Arvind.
I think we thanked.
Oh, sorry, we thanked Mr. Tulsian. Meribun, what about you? Your quick, you don't track?
I don't track Arvind Group at all.
Okay, and what about these quick service restaurant guys? Specialty restaurant has started moving up. Westlife Development after Jubilant, you know, after the mild negative news in Jubilant. Do you like any of them? Not their products, I mean the shares.
No, honestly, Jubilant at this present level, I will not recommend. And Specialty Restaurants is this company whose profit and loss account has kept on disappointing me, and somewhere I have given up right now. But at the end of it all, I think hotel sector as well as this specialty restaurant sector could possibly start looking up on a general basis, only because of the fact that people now believe that consumer discretion is one of the sector which you have to look at positively.
Okay, what about Leyland? It's made a bit of a comeback. It's closer to 100 now. Ashok Leyland, do you like that?
I think I recommended it last time. This is one of the stock which I was referring to, Lata, is one of the stock in the mid cap which you can assume, confidently state that the worst is behind it in terms of stock price performance. I think it's bottomed out. Now the point is, if you buy it right now, will you earn money in a hurry? That is what I was saying. The BS6 norms, liquidity problems could continue to ail the sector for some more time to come. But let's understand one thing. Leyland, only 55% of the business comes from this. There's a balance 45% of the business which continues to keep on growing. So I think at 90, 94 rupees or whatever Leyland would be today, 94 rupees if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the stock which ultimately investors are going to make money. And let's not forget it. People like to buy the stock at 130, 135. It came down sharply to 76. So the fall was very, very sharp. The negatives got overvalued, I would say. So on the upside, I think the stock has a long way to go, but investors will have to be patient after the run-up from 76 to the present 94.
Okay. Meribun, on that note, let's thank you. Thank you very much for dropping into our studios. It's almost time for the opening bell to go.